High Court, that's the venue, that's where you are. Oscar just arrived now, just moments ago.
Well, that's right, Leanne. Oscar Pistorius arriving just a few minutes ago, just the weekend after this leaked video that you've just spoken about, Leanne. That certainly has been the talking point outside court here this morning, and exactly what bearing it will have on the case. We know this video that was leaked to this Australian TV station. We understand that they're saying at the moment that they would not have run with this video if they felt it was illegal. We saw Oscar Pistorius' lawyers coming out quite strongly over the weekend to say that all of this was in breach of a disclaimer agreement between the parties not to run this. Now, this video, Leanne, this reenactment was shot in October last year at the home of Oscar Pistorius' uncle, and in that video we see Oscar Pistorius on his stumps, carrying his sister, moving from one point to the other, carrying an imaginary gun. And you would know that the center of this argument over the past week was Professor Derman's testimony, which spoke at length about Oscar Pistorius and how mobile he is on his stumps. And he went on to explain with quite extensively how Oscar Pistorius moves with difficulty when he's on his stumps. So quite critical to see what impact this video will have on this case this morning, but certainly it will be up to Judge Thokozile Masipa at the end of the day. But we're expecting, of course, the defense, first of all, to bring it up this morning, given that it is already in the public domain this morning. And certainly the state, if the case does go that way this morning, the state would want to, in its continuing cross-examination of Professor Derman this morning, ask him perhaps for his opinion on that video, if at all it is allowed to be admitted as evidence in this court.
Can be admitted as evidence. I mean, if something like that it's out in the public domain, it would obviously be of vital importance to the trial and to the case, to finally see the evidence of exactly what Oscar Pistorius is like outside of the court and in a situation like that. So from expert opinion, do you think it's going to be admissible?
Well, yeah, it's very difficult to say. I mean, you've got to take into account, for example, the circumstances under which that reenactment was done. You know, the defense did bring in this U.S. company to assist it. It was part of the pre-trial preparations with the Oscar Pistorius trial. And, you know, in that video you can be seen Oscar. I'm just being told now, Leanne, that there might be some activity here behind me. Well, there he is, towards here, am I right there? Barry Rue arriving on a day, certainly, when it's expected he will bring up quite a lot that has to do with this leaked video, arriving here this morning with some of the other legal team. But certainly, Leanne, Barry Rue would need to bring this video up inside this court. Back to whether it will be admissible or not, Leanne, you know, it's very difficult to say. You've got to take into account the circumstances, for example, because in that video, Oscar Pistorius doesn't really have any reaction. You would recall when he was relaying the events of what happened on that day, Oscar Pistorius broke down several times inside this court. But in that video, you don't see an Oscar Pistorius that is emotional, and you would know that this is the heart of what this case is about. Whether Oscar Pistorius can run on his stumps, what happened on that morning, whether Oscar Pistorius, according to his version of events, was able to, on that morning, carry Reeva Steenkamp down the flight of stairs. We see Amy Pistorius acting, if I may, as Reeva Steenkamp in the home of Oscar Pistorius' uncle. And the circumstances and a host of other things need to be taken into account, Leanne. But certainly it will be up to the judge this morning to decide whether this can be submitted as evidence inside this court. And we'll have to see at 9:30 if that actually happens.
Well, there you go. Half an hour. That's what time the court case gets underway. Chriselda Lewis, thank you very, very much. We'll be watching very closely to see what actually happens and transpires in the court today. So that's what we can expect during this particular case. Very, very interesting day indeed. Or perhaps it won't be. Perhaps it'll just be mentioned in the opening and then put to rest. So, but no doubt, everybody waiting to see what's going to be said. That's it. That's all we got time for.